I'm so happy that I get to talk about it now. Like, first and foremost, I am a fan. So when Amy Pascal and Kevin Feige and John Watts asked to
I
have a
love
word
this
with me and
guy.
talk to me about
I'm not
Right.
mad at him
And
at
he
all.
pitched it.
I'm
It was
so
like-
Wholesome
I'm so
man.
proud of him for trying to hide it from us. And
Right?
he's working so hard. And he's
Bro,
had such a
like-
big year of press. He has to go in front of journalists all year.
Right?
I have so much respect for him.
And we spoiled it for ourselves, so he was trying to help us out.
that I feel about it. And then the fact that I get to be one of those people wearing the suit next to my actual Spider-Man hero, Tobey Maguire, and the
look how
brilliant,
sweet he is.
incredibly talented, heartfelt, funny,
Tom Holland.
good,
You know, what if you talk trash about one of them, like my favorite Spider-Man, and then another one I don't like that much?
Tobey Maguire, my hero, then Tom, the kid.
My
Yeah.
younger brother. I snuck into a theater.
It is sweet that he calls him, like, he's the middle child of the two brothers. That's totally
Right?
the energy he plays it with, and I thought it was so sweet.
As a middle child, I'm a big fan of Andrew Garfield.
Now, are you coming back? Will you come back? That's the question, Andrew Garfield.
I hope
Tell
so,
us.
because Amazing Spider-Man 3 gotta happen.
If there's a way for me
A
to
Boy Scout.
continue to add to the legacy of that character in a way that feels of service to an audience, of service to the themes.
Because it's gotta have purpose, man. You can't just, like, bring it back for no reason.
I'm open, of course. I'm very, very
Sounds
open.
like a
But
yes!
It would have to be very, very special.
Right?
It would have to be very, very-
Of course it would be special. Every time Spider-Man's in a
Bro,
movie, it's special.
Sony would make so
He's
much
coming
money
back,
if you
I
came
know
back.
it.
Just come back, Andrew. Just come back. We miss you.
It's your time! Welcome back to New Rockstars. Spider-Man No Way Home pulled off several miraculous feats, and at the top of that list was making us all appreciate how truly great Andrew Garfield was as Peter Parker, and how deserving this guy is of his own third film. Andrew Garfield is now saying he is open, and our legs are open for this guy to make a landing right in the middle. Because we are now hearing some totally unconfirmed rumors, but rumors nonetheless, that Sony might be actually looking into this. And if we could will Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield into existence once more, hey, we can do it again, can't we?
Right?
Come on.
I think so.
This is Inside Marvel. It's our weekly Marvel reaction show. I'm Erik Voss, and I'm back this week with MT. MT, welcome back from your break. So good to see you again, buddy.
Back at it again at Krispy Kreme. What's going on, gang? I missed you guys so much. Vacation was not vacation without you guys. So right now I feel like I'm on vacation with you, talking nerd stuff.
Well, New Rockstars wasn't New Rockstars without you, MT. But hey, I gotta hand you some props here. Good on you for scheduling your vacation right up past when Philip was doing performance reviews yesterday. Because man, 2021 was a hard year of theories to come to terms with, I gotta say.
Man. Yeah.
But next year we're coming for you, MT. You're gonna have to be in the hot seat right there with me. We're gonna
ready.
merge our trials together. It's gonna be a few good men. Both of us delivered the code red from Mephisto. Mephisto may have ordered the code red, but you and I are those two Marines who carried it out. So
Let's do it. Hey, I'm ready. I'm ready for Melina Judgment.
Yeah. No, you're not.
Nobody is.
Well, in this episode of Inside Marvel, we're going to talk about this new Andrew Garfield Spider-Man film rumors that are out there. What would that film look like if it were to happen? And what would really need to change from the 2012 and 2014 films? And really, how would this affect the live-action Spider-Verse with the Tom Holland Peter Parker and Sony's plans for Miles Morales? Because, you know, they're going to get around to him eventually. So we're going to talk about all this stuff, also some other Spider-Man related MCU questions moving forward throughout this calendar year. But before we get to that, we still have some amazing designs inspired by the huge year in Marvel that we just had, all available at newrockstarsmerch.com. These include our awesome Strange Entanglement design, our Hawkeye-inspired Kingpin shirt, and Trust a Bro Moving Company shirt. So be sure to get all of these at newrockstarsmerch.com. All right, MT, let's dive right into it.
All right, buddy. Our first question of the day is Andrew Garfield coming back to play Peter Parker for another film? Because that is the big question that we have all had and wanted ever since No Way Home, because this man is incredible. He's literally Peter Parker. He's my favorite. He's one of my favorites.
He really
anyway.
is. And you know what, MT, when this has been coming up, it reminded me of, like, there was an old episode of Rogue Theory that you were on, I think before you joined New Rockstars full time, where we were talking about different, like, Spider-Verse tie-ins. And your opinion was that, like, the Mark Webb films didn't get their proper due.
Mark Webb, the director, of course, of the Amazing Spider-Man movies. I think that those movies are underrated. I know that I'm not supposed to say that I enjoyed Amazing Spider-Man 2, and everybody's like, oh my god, it's the worst Spider-Man movie. Though that may be true. Like, the actual stuff in those movies were fantastic.
That was one thing I learned about.
I do remember that. Oh my
MT
god,
really
yeah.
appreciates Andrew Garfield.
I really
more than,
love
at the time people were giving credit.
Mark Webb cinematography, especially in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Magnificent.
Yeah, the second one.
Magnificent. So good. So, I would love for him to come back for a third one.
Yes, for sure. So there's a lot of great things from those 2012 and 2014 films that are worth re-exploring. I think people are now discovering that those movies, in the same way Spider-Man 3 from Tobey Maguire was not a complete trash. There's a lot of amazing stuff that almost warranted another follow-up film. There was going to be a fourth Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie. There was going to be a third Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movie. It's just like Sony as a studio would get a little nervous when the numbers weren't what they thought, so we got to reboot it. But hey, to their credit, rebooting it so many times has only paid off in dividends now to have so many different Spider-Man.
They're like, it's always been part of the plan. We've always meant to do it.
But I think of all of these, Andrew Garfield's having a huge moment, especially right now. Like, out of everyone in this massive cast of No Way Home, I feel like he's the cast member everyone is buzzing about. And last night, he just won the Golden Globe for Best Actor in a Musical or Comedy for Tick, Tick, Boom, which he's so good in Tick, Tick, Boom. The guy is such a good actor. And this isn't anything against Tom Holland or Tobey Maguire. Tom Holland is incredible. The energy he's brought to Peter Parker has been, in many fans' eyes, perfect. Like what we've been wanting for. He has this youthful panic, almost like what Michael J. Fox brought to Marty McFly, and
100%.
Not just in the sense of panic, but the physical commitment he brings to that. Like Tom Holland is doing a lot of fun stunt work, a lot of tripping around the room. Like he's just a delight to watch. The character
feels like a real goofy kid that would exist in real life. That's why we love him.
And then Tobey has brought so much to the role. He was our first live-action Spider-Man for my generation, for sure. This is the Spider-Man that I compare every other Spider-Man to. And the politeness that he plays, he just has this wholesome sweetness to him that, when you watch Spider-Man 3 and he does the whole dark turn, it is campy, but you get to see that other side of Tobey Maguire's portrayal of the character that just makes you appreciate everything else he has done to build up that character and build up that trust with him. And that's not an easy thing to do.
I think Tobey Maguire nailed the whole turning evil thing in Spider-Man 3, because what would happen if this nerd was like, I'm going to try to be cool? He would fail at being cool.
This is what this nerd thinks is cool. It's not what we think is cool. It's what a nerd thinks would be cool.
Exactly.
I'm going to go to a jazz club and jump on tables. I agree. I think it's perfect. But Andrew Garfield brings a dimension to the reason he's cast for this version of Peter Parker is, they knew going into these movies that they're going to kill off Gwen Stacy, and they needed Peter Parker who could really, really sell the grief.
And Andrew Garfield he knows how to act. He knows how to do emotion. Like, that man is constantly crying. And I really love that Andrew Garfield is super emotional in his movies, because we don't see a lot of emotion from a lot of male character, a lot of male heroes, I feel. So seeing Andrew Garfield get emotional in those movies, I'm like, yeah, I like this crying Spider-Man. More crying Spider-Man, please.
Yeah. There's a wholesome aspect to it, and I'll say that in fairness of all the other actors who have been in these movies, the scripts usually don't require that from them. They usually are more comedic, they're more lighthearted. When characters die, they are not cut to. We did have a moment where Tom Holland had to react to Tony Stark dying, but think of all the actors that they had in that battle, and they only cut to a few different people when Tony Stark died, and all these people are capable of showing grief in different ways. But it's just the nature of these scripts. When deaths happen, they don't linger too much on the death. They cut to the funeral. But we've even had major characters die and we didn't get funerals in those movies, So that's just been the nature of the MCU. Instead, what they'll do is they'll create entire Disney Plus series that just deal with characters' grief. And that's actually worked out pretty well, I gotta say. Between WandaVision, between Hawkeye, these shows have been successful. But when it comes to Andrew Garfield, in interviews this past week, Andrew has said, as we saw at the top of this episode, he's totally down to return as Peter Parker in a future film. It's just the conditions have to be right. The story has to be right. He also told Variety recently that his Peter is a working class boy from Queens that knows struggle and loss and is deeply empathetic. I would try to borrow Peter Parker's ethical framework in that if there was an opportunity to step back in and tell more of that story, story, I would have to feel very sure and certain in myself. And yeah, it sounds like he's coding some signals to the studio, like, if you want to tell a certain kind of story, I can be your guy. And he did the homework in Spider-Man No Way Home. He proved to anyone who had any doubt in his ability as an actor and his ability to capture an audience in the suit, he proved this is why I was initially cast for this role. I can pull this off. Moment that you mentioned, when he saved MJ, he breaks down in tears, clearly remembering Gwen. He said earlier in the film that he hadn't gotten over Gwen's death, became rageful, stopped pulling his punches. I honestly, he kind of created an arc for himself in this movie.
Right.
And the writers did that as well. But the reason it works is because Andrew Garfield sells it so perfectly. Now, I want to remind us all where the 2014 Andrew Garfield film left us, because it's important to remember that Sony was clearly setting up a Sinister Six conflict in that universe. We had Dane DeHaan as Harry Osborn. We had Paul Giamatti as Rhino. Technically, Rhys Ifans as Lizard was still alive at that universe. He had been on the short list of Gustav Fiers. And we also got a glimpse of a Doc Ock suit, a Vulture suit, and there was some talk of Kraven the Hunter joining this lineup, as well as possibly Mysterio, possibly Chameleon. It's clear that Sony started working their Mysterio and Vulture plans into their MCU films. We also got to remember Felicity Jones played Harry's assistant Felicia in this film, possibly being set up as Felicia Hardy Black Cat. Now, there was some interesting chatter about what a third version of these movies was going to be. There's some interviews with Dennis Leary later on who revealed that just one idea for the next Andrew Garfield movie was to dig even deeper into Oscorp's history with biomedical engineering, and that Peter was going to acquire a formula that would allow him to regenerate the people in his life who had died. So that could have included Captain Stacy, Gwen Stacy, Uncle Ben, Norman Osborn,
Saga.
Peter's parents. So when we just hear that kind of thing in a headline on a Nerd News website, we kind of balk at it, and especially if it's coming from Dennis Leary, who's just kind of like, all this stuff is stupid. The idea of having that opportunity to regenerate people, but choosing not to do it, like we've seen that played out in like horror concepts before. They're not the same. It's like, they're the same to me, right? Right, Gwen? Just the idea of that is brings us into a nice horror territory that I liked these Andrew Garfield movies exploring. How kind of dark and moody they get.
I would love to see like a Clone Saga, even though the Clone Saga in the comics is this huge like controversial thing. A lot of people don't want to see the Clone Saga. It went on for too long. I get it. I understand. But the Jackal and like you said, like the idea of all of these people that died in Peter Parker's life has always messed with his mind. And like he's always wished that he could just go back in time and like undo the things that he made a mistake on. And like literally seeing Gwen Stacy again in like a cloned version does make sense because he lost both Gwen Stacy and Captain Stacy. So like if Amazing Spider-Man 3 were to happen, we would probably see Captain Stacy too, because all that grief and that regret and all that guilt that he has with them two dying. So like I think that the Clone Saga is a really interesting way to go to explore that emotional side of Andrew Garfield, Peter Parker for sure.
Yeah, it just, if they told Dennis Leary about it, it means that they were going to bring back these actors in some way. That was part of the pitch. But we have to remember that from Sony's perspective, you have to wonder how much they've thought about the logic of their multiverse and how everything's connect. I don't know if they totally have thought about it as much as some of the crazy ass fans have on YouTube, but
no way. The fans always think about it more than the actual studio.
As much as you've thought about something, there's a fan out there who's thought about it more than you have. But from their perspective, the universe that their villain films are set in might still be that same Andrew Garfield continuity, because in their eyes, that's kind of simpler, right? You have the MCU universe, and they know as much to know that's separate. But I think for everything that isn't that, I think they might just feel like there's a way to connect, or they might already just be connected because they're not trying to be too interconnected, a lot of these movies, but like they're literally located in different parts of the country and they never really leave that neighborhood. So I think that could be the way they look at it. We know that Morbius is set in the same universe as Venom, or at least with a Venom in it. He references Venom in the trailer. The cops in that trailer reference events in San Francisco. Now, the Morbius trailer is also showing the Oscorp Tower looking exactly as it does in the Andrew Garfield continuity. Same logo, same building. There's also graffiti labeling Spider-Man as a murderer. Yes, different era version of Spider-Man, but it is art. But they call him a murderer, which could line up with Andrew Garfield saying that he stopped pulling his punches and he could have murdered someone. He could have been too violent of a vigilante. Now, there are a few sticking points, of course. Michael Keaton is playing Vulture in Morbius. Points to some kind of MCU connection there. Morbius is a weirdly designed Daily Bugle that doesn't really line up with the tabloid design we saw in Venom Let There Be Carnage. But in the Andrew Garfield continuity, I don't think we ever saw a Daily Bugle front page. Or if we did, we didn't stay on it for too long. We really just saw some billboards in the second movie. And then we got some angry emails from J. Jonah Jameson, but we never met that J. Jonah Jameson in that movie. But a key detail in that 2014 film, the Oscorp files that Harry Osborn is going through on the touchscreen reference a whole bunch of other Spider-Verse villains, including Dr. Morbius in the lower right corner. So this could just be another clue that from Sony's eyes, all Spider-Man movies that aren't the MCU Tom Holland shared universe with Disney are instead their own universe where Andrew Garfield is still Spider-Man and could still come back. And if characters in these villain movies reference Spider-Man, the Spider-Man they're referencing is Andrew Garfield. Why not? Why not just make that the case, right? We don't need to cast a fourth Spider-Man, unless I would say you're going to make Miles Morales that guy. But why not also just make him your guy? I kind of want Miles Morales to be in the MCU instead. Can we just let just play with him
bro,
too?
Sam.
I know he's yours. I know. You would just let him hang out.
We can just use him. We'll
Let him
borrow
hang out with everybody in the MCU. That'd be a bit fun for us. I mean, he's already there. Donald Glover told us he's there.
Wakanda. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. So let's talk about what an Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movie should look like. And I think the question is, what have the MCU Spider-Man movies been missing? Because they have been great, but there have been some choices they have made that have had to close the door on other parts of Peter Parker's character, his world. So let's run through some options for me. Yeah. I'm just going to run down a quick list. Yeah. Things like Oscorp, because we know there's no Oscorp in the MCU. You can explore more intrigue with Oscorp. I would say maybe the Andrew Garfield films, the first two, explored that a bit too much, made them too much about like a political thriller that kind of delved into national treasure a little bit. But Oscorp's an interesting company. The whole Spiderverse of characters, MCU can only bring in certain characters that they get deals with Sony. Things like horror. The MCU is exploring horror in titles like WandaVision, Agatha, House of Harkness, Moon Knight, Multiverse Madness, of course. But when it comes to Spider-Man, they like to keep him in a brighter world where, yes, his friends and family die. But we don't really... It's hard to imagine right now Tom Holland Peter Parker reacting to a vampire or reacting to a zombie, unless we saw in What If he was reacting to zombies, but that was an animated. The Tom Holland live action one, right now they haven't really played with that yet. Whereas Andrew Garfield, the way he plays being grossed out at stuff, like just staring at Toby's wrist, it was so perfect.
My favorite part of the movie, he was just like, oh my God.
I mean, just his reactions to that scene, like the fifth or sixth time you watch this movie, just watch it for Andrew Garfield's reactions and everything. And another big thing that the Tom Holland movies have not explored, at least not yet, is Peter Parker as a photojournalist for the Daily Bugle.
That's what I want to see.
That is something that they could explore more if they have another trilogy of him as a college student. But I would still imagine just the way they've made this Peter Parker is he is more of an engineer. He went to a science and engineering high school. He hasn't shown, I don't think he's taken a single photo, you know, like he did have some, he might have taken some selfies and stuff, but like the only photo gags we've seen is when Mr. Harrington dropped his camera in the water at Venice, you know, like, and that's fine. I haven't missed it that much with this version of Peter Parker, but that is like a dimension to his character's relationship with J. Jonah Jameson that I feel like in Spider-Man No Way Home, I would have loved it if they could have gotten J.K. Simmons out of a green screen studio and talked to at least one of these characters, because that is such a funny relationship between these two. This abusive boss and then a photojournalist who still is so skilled that the boss has to begrudgingly work with this guy. Yeah. I think that could be something that we explore more with Andrew Garfield's version of the character is, you know, when you see photojournalists working for the Times or the Post in real life, they often are not children. They're kind of like grizzled guys without families who just go anywhere. and they're badasses. They go all over the world. They go into war zones. Like I kind of want to see that version.
I want to see the ad for those. Like looking for grizzled man without family to take picture in war zone.
Maybe that's too extreme for Peter Parker, sure. But I think Andrew Garfield could explore that. I think we also would love to see Tom Holland explore that. I don't think there's anything stopping that from happening. But these are just some things that, as of now, have not really shown up in the MCU. So really, I think the question I want to know, MT, is if Peter Parker is played by Andrew Garfield in a third movie following his continuity after No Way Home, what kind of story do you want to see from him? What journey do you want to see him go through?
Well, we have heard rumors of Emma Stone potentially coming back as Gwen, and more specifically, Spider-Gwen, who I love and is the character that got me into comics. I love that character so much. So I would love for an Amazing Spider-Man 3 scenario to just take place in Spider-Gwen's world. I think that very much is in line with, you know, the story that is being told with Gwen and Captain Stacy and the guilt that he feels. I would love if Andrew Garfield was 100% pushed into the Spider-Gwen's world and be like, oh my god, there's Gwen, I need to save her, even though she doesn't need to be saved. And there's Captain Stacy, I killed your daughter in another universe. I feel very depressed and confused. But yeah, I think that's like a natural continuation of his story, because Gwen and the Stacys are at the center of it, and they really do want to build this whole Spider-Verse of characters, it seems. So it just makes sense for Amazing Spider-Man 3 to sort of be a Spider-Gwen jump-off film. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, MT. And the implication of that is that it would have to be a multiverse-inspired incident, right? So first off, to Gwen Stacy, for her to be alive again, and for her to be Spider-Gwen, she would have to come from a reality where she is the spider hero. So I think, but it's already set up. Like, we already had this big collision event. Like, it's not that hard just to say, she's here, she's back.
Yeah, okay. I think that, honestly, that Morbius universe is this huge amalgamation universe of, like, both the Tobey Maguire and the Mark Webb universes together. Because, like, it just doesn't... All of those Morbius questions that we have, they just don't make sense if it's not this one big universe. Because we do see that...
Yeah, if it's not some kind of weird...
mishmash that happened after No Way Home post the spell. I don't think that's out of the question, I feel.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's just like, I don't know if they already planned on Andrew Garfield showing up in Morbius. Yes, they have more time because they pushed it back. I don't know if they're going to reshoot. I just think Sony dropped the money. Do it. But would Andrew Garfield agree to do that? I don't know. He's going to be like an Oscar frontrunner now.
He's going to be making more money now that he won that award.
I don't want to spend the next couple weeks worrying about how this will look. Anyway, I hope he does. I think it'll, like, even as like a post-credit thing, you know, set up his other movie. I think Gwen Stacy is perfect. A Spider-Gwen where both of them are spider things and they're figuring out that relationship. I think that is one thing that, like, Sony tried to do early on, is they tried to build on Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone's natural chemistry, which when you rewatch those movies, they totally do. They work together on screen. So good. But, like, when you rewatch it knowing that this is kind of doomed, it's kind of like it's hard not to rewatch those movies and just feel like they're straight up fridging Gwen Stacy. Like, the death of Gwen Stacy storyline of the comics is considered the sacred thing. Like, Gwen Stacy has to die. It's like, no, she didn't have to die. It's just Marvel Comics in the 80s said, oh, we need to have a twist that makes it real dark. Like, you can kill off other people in Peter's life that makes him feel grief. That's what happened with Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
I just think Gwen Stacy's such a great character. She's so much more valuable to your universe of storytelling alive than she is just to force a character to go through grief.
Oh, yeah, Emma Stone's characterization of that character was so good. Like, this was a highly intelligent woman that was more than capable of helping Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. Like, this was the perfect girlfriend for this version of Peter Parker. So, like, for them to just be like, all right, we have to follow the comics continuity and kill her. Like, you didn't have to. Like, you could have killed, like you said, you could have killed someone else that he loved. Like, it's plenty of people for Peter Parker.
But you gotta also look at it from their perspective. This is really a debate with, like, the comics in the 80s, right? Like, because if they were to bring in Gwen Stacy in the movies, the number one question every fan would ask, are you gonna kill her? Are you gonna kill her?
It's like, when is she gonna die?
She's most known for from the comics, at least at that point. Now, with this arc of Spider-Gwen, people have these other perspective, but, like, I think let her be the Spider-Gwen, Gwen Stacy, not the dead girlfriend.
Gwen Stacy. I think she needs to stay dead. That version needs to stay dead 100%.
But I honestly felt the same way about Aunt May and No Way Home. I think Aunt May's death was really, really well executed, but just stepping back from that execution, from the concept, like, if you were trying to get Peter Parker to go through grief, why not kill off Happy Hogan instead? Like, Happy Hogan has been this paternal role to Peter. Honestly, has had more of a relationship with Peter, at least coming out of Far From Home. Like, you're gonna get that same reaction out of Peter Parker. But Aunt May, they suddenly adjusted her character because they wanted to give Marissa Tomei more to do in No Way Home to justify killing her off. But like, I think there's so much more that can be gotten from her character having an ongoing relationship with Peter Parker in the future than Happy Hogan, who's really just a vestige of Peter Parker's relationship with the Avengers and with Tony Stark. And I think in order to properly move on from that phase of his life, I thought it would have been a great opportunity to kill off Happy Hogan. Now, that's me talking from like a storytelling perspective, from like a universe building perspective. Jon Favreau showing up as Happy Hogan in these different properties, it's a delight, and I don't want to lose him either. There's all kinds of fun stuff that you can do with him.
I would have loved if, instead of like, Karen and all the other suit ladies we've gotten, if it was Aunt May talking to Peter in a suit the entire, like,
don't you think it'd be
Spider-Man
creepy?
2.
No, MT, that's fucking creepy. That's terrifying. My dead aunt is the voice that's talking to me.
Like in Far From Home and No Way Home, not after No Way Home. That would be really creepy terrible therapy. No. In Far From Home, if she was the suit lady, because she knew after Homecoming, so like it'd be great if she was just like, all right, I'm helping my nephew. Let's go do adventures together.
Wouldn't you give terrible advice? Like,
100%.
I think that's a drone you're approaching. I don't really know though.
It would be the worst.
Go over to the airport and fly home.
It's like having your aunt backseat drive. It would be so funny. I would love it.
It'd be hilarious. I'll give you that. We've kind of gotten on a tangent here. I think ultimately what we want to see from Andrew Garfield is realize what was good about those 2014 films. I think he did have like a really nice chemistry with Emma Stone. He played it with this wholesomeness, especially I think the way he played the second of his movies was more of a true Peter Parker energy. He had a relationship with the city of New York that I don't think we've really seen Tom Holland have. He's had a relationship with Queens and Del Mar's Deli with his high school, but we haven't really seen him as like, going around Manhattan and getting to know people who live there and saving.
Hey, he did a flip that one time. He did one flip.
He did one flip. That's right.
And a lady gave him a churro.
Yeah. It sounds like I'm faulting the Tom Holland universe. I loved all that. I loved exploring Queens with Peter Parker. Yeah. We hadn't really seen that before. So I just think if we were to explore something with Andrew Garfield, I'm not saying we should ever end Tom Holland's character. I still want to see these movies. But I think the conclusion we can all draw from No Way Home is we can have multiple live-action Spider-Mans at the same time. And Sony shouldn't be worried about this, that people are going to like pick and choose which one. They're going to show up for both. We're going to watch every movie that Andrew Garfield's playing Spider-Man in. We're going to watch every movie that Tom Holland's playing Spider-Man. And you're going to like be able to double dip on the well of your characters. You can have a Miles movie, you can have a Gwen movie, you can have a Tobey Maguire
Go balls movie. To the wall, Sony. Every Spider-Ham. I want to see Spider-Ham live action. Let's do it.
You can do it all and then rake in all the profit from it. Fans aren't choosing one over the other. We're going to show up for both. So give us
them all. Any Spider-Man content.
Do it.
Put into our eyeballs, please.
We're going to keep talking about this, but first, we want to thank Helix for sponsoring this episode. Disney Plus and HBO Max don't do us a lot of favors here at New Rockstars when they release content at midnight. We need sleep, guys. But at least we're not losing any sleep because of a bad mattress. Helix Sleep has a quiz that matches your body type and your sleep preferences to the perfect mattress for you. They have soft, medium, and firm mattresses. Mattress is great for cooling you down if you sleep hot. Even a Helix Plus mattress for plus-size sleepers. I got a Helix mattress. I love it. The quiz matched me with a medium firm mattress with lumbar support that sleeps cool. The mattress ships right to your door for free. No need to go to a mattress store. Just go to helixsleep.com/InsideMarvel. Take their 2-minute sleep quiz and they'll match you to a customized mattress that will give you the best sleep of your life. They have a 10-year warranty and you get to try it out for 100 nights risk-free. They'll even pick it up for you if you don't love it, but you will love it. Helix is offering up to $200 off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners at helixsleep.com/InsideMarvel. We also want to thank Upstart for sponsoring this episode. If you dread looking at your credit card statements, you are not alone. The weight of debt can be crippling, but Upstart can help give you your path to financial freedom. Upstart is a fast and easy way to pay off your debt with a personal loan all online. Whether it's paying off credit cards, consolidating high-interest debt, or funding personal expenses, over 1 million people have used Upstart to get one fixed monthly payment with a clear payoff date. Rather than looking at your credit score alone, Upstart considers other factors like your income, current employment, credit history to find you a smarter rate for your loan. You can check your rate without impacting your credit score in minutes. For loans between $1,000 to $50,000, you can receive funds as fast as 1 business day after accepting your loan. Find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments today when you go to upstart.com/InsideMarvel. That's upstart.com/InsideMarvel. Don't forget to use our URL to let them know that we sent you. Loan amounts will be determined based on your credit, income, and certain other information provided in your loan application. And finally, we want to thank Sunbasket for sponsoring this episode. Our friends at Sunbasket deliver healthy meals so you aren't on the hook to shop and cook for healthy food. Sunbasket delivers the joy of eating with bold flavors, organic produce, and sustainable seafood and meats. Their award-winning chefs are constantly innovating with new recipes to keep it interesting each week. Sunbasket's fresh and easy meals are perfect for lunch, heat, and eat in minutes. And you can put dinner on autopilot with easy-to-prep meal kits that impress whoever you're feeding. Plus, they've got healthy snacks or grab-and-go breakfast items for busy mornings. Whether you eat vegetarian, paleo, gluten-free, or low-carb, Sunbasket has something to check any and every box. You can choose from delicious recipes like pan-seared salmon tikka masala or honey balsamic glazed chicken with cabbage apple salad. Set up weekly delivery and skip a week when you need to. It's simple and easy, and you will love it. Right now, Sunbasket is offering $90 off and a free gift when you order. Go to sunbasket.com/Marvel and enter the promo code Marvel at checkout. That's sunbasket.com/Marvel and enter promo code Marvel. All right, MT, what's our next question?
All right, buddy. Assuming a Secret Wars event happens, which we all very much suspect, how involved should it be with this whole Spider-Verse scenario that's going on in the MCU?
Interesting question. Yeah, I think a fifth Avengers movie could be and really should be Secret Wars. I think that's the only event that's bigger than Endgame right now. Unless you were to have some other kind of crossover event with the X-Men, with the Fantastic Four. You could create a new Crisis that isn't grounded in the comics, but I think Secret Wars is such a cool opportunity. The 2015 crossover Incursion one that already kind of merged the 1610 with the 616 universe in such a cool way. You had Doctor Doom as the villain. Now, when it comes to the Spider-Verse, I think I would love to see multiple spider things in it, but the crossover event I want Secret Wars to be is also gonna have like X-Men in it, and I don't want those Spider-Men to be diluted in any way. So I think they should just pick one or two Spider-Man variants. I think you could have your Tom Holland one there, and then you have your Miles Morales there, or your Gwen Stacy. I don't know if I need Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire to be in Secret Wars unless they are the only Spider-Man that's in that. But then I would feel bummed that Tom Holland isn't in there because he has a relationship with all the MCU characters. How do you feel? Am I being too safe?
No, I think that you're being like really measured, and I think that you're being like very, like in a practical sense, like it makes sense for just like let's just limit our Spider-Man, because like then you have all these actors that you have to like organize schedules, like because with the Russo brothers with the Avengers projects, especially Infinity War and Endgame, it was a nightmare for them, like organizing all these people's schedules, and like Andrew Garfield's high in demand now, like it's just. The less people, the better. However, I think that if we can do it, if we can get all these actors, I think that this Secret Wars event should be like a huge celebration of all things live action Marvel. So like, let's get everybody, as much people, let's get even Howard the Duck, the Howard the Duck movie that we don't even like from back in the day. Bring that Howard in. Every single live action, that should be a huge celebration of like everything that's ever happened. In this one event, and then just end it. Like just one huge thing. So I think that we should go all Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, as much elements as we can shove into that movie, because it's Secret Wars, and we'll never have it again. It's like one and done, and like we'll never probably have another Secret Wars.
But I don't think it has to be one and done. I think that can be like a recurring thing. Like Secret Wars could be its own trilogy of Secret Wars Part 1, Secret Wars Part 2,
I would
Secret Wars
absolutely love if there was this whole Secret Wars arc. Like we just had like a whole
Secret Wars
phase.
Saga.
Oh my god!
Because if it is
cry.
like different dimensions where these folks are being transported to, you just have different people who get controls of the wheel, or that like Doctor Doom is having a secret war in one dimension, but another a collage of characters in another reality, a different battle world landscape. Look, if Pen M can host 7,400 games. I am sorry. I'm not even going to finish the sentence. I'm sorry. But you get the idea.
No, 100%. You're 100% right. It's true.
Well, moving ahead to other Marvel questions. It's just a question I have for you, MT. Okay. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. We're getting rumors of all kind of crazy cameos going to happen in this movie. I want to ask you which is more likely. Patrick Stewart as Charles Xavier, Professor X, or Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man reuniting with Sam Raimi, director?
You know what? I think it's definitely got to be Patrick Stewart, because we just got Tobey Maguire in No Way Home, and so like that whole surprise, it was really cool. But like, I don't think that will be like, all right, here's him again, hooray! So it's got to be Patrick Stewart, because we haven't really seen him in a while. It's the cameo that we all wanted, because we've all been clamoring for the Fox X-Men to join the MCU proper, ever since the whole Ralph Boner thing didn't 100% pan out the way that we wanted yet. So yeah, I think it's Patrick Stewart for sure. How about you? What do you think?
I would say so too. I think having Sam Raimi as the director, that just feels like it's a natural fit to bring Tobey Maguire back in there. But I think the issue with Spider-Man, anytime you put Spider-Man in a movie, it starts to feel a bit like a Spider-Man movie. Now, you're going to say, well, he's Infinity War, he was in Endgame, those weren't Spider-Man movies. But, like, we knew that Tom Holland was already in that universe and already kind of a supporting character to the Avengers in that way. Tobey Maguire is from his own world where he is the front man. And if he's not crossing over into a Spider-Man movie, he is going to start to make it feel like a Spider-Man flavor. And I don't know if that's exactly what Sam Raimi and Kevin Feige want to do with Multiverse of Madness.
Oh yeah,
though I wouldn't mind seeing him in the background waving through a portal.
I would love that, like, or some type of reference to the Raimi universe. Like, I'll take that any day for sure.
But that kind of leads us to our final question, MT. Why do you think Marvel is taking so damn long with the mutants? We've had them for a while. We're now past the weird schedule delay things of of their first year of content. Yeah, they're already reshooting things to make Doctor Strange make more sense. Is it just that they didn't want to introduce mutants in Shang-Chi and Eternals and in that first year of movies? We're going to see them in Multiverse of Madness. If they don't show up in Multiverse of Madness, are we right to start really questioning, like, what's the holdup?
I think that people are very much justified with being like, all right, where are the mutants? Like, it's been long enough, like, because we all want it. I get it. But, like, I think that mutants are going to be introduced specifically in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Because, like, there was this whole thing of, like, of people saying Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is going to usher in this huge new era of the Marvel Cinematic Universe a couple of years ago. And I think that with rumors of the High Evolutionary coming into play in Guardians 3, I think that he's going to kick off mutants, because he's all about evolutions, all about like genetic stuff and all that stuff. Yeah, with Rocket's story, we're gonna learn how Rocket was evolved from a lower life form, and he's probably gonna do something crazy. Maybe they'll adapt the Evolutionary War saga in from the comics. But yeah, I think that it's going to be Herbert Wyndham, the High Evolutionary, that's going to like trigger the mutants in the entire universe. But what do you think?
Well, see, I think High Evolutionary could give us some answers on what mutants look like off-world, off-Earth, like in the wider cosmos. For sure, I think there's an opportunity there. I just think for most fans, their access point into the X-Men, into the mutants, are the ones who exist on Earth. So if you were to have your first introduction of what mutants are in the MCU, be this guy who most fans have never heard of, who's on another planet, I think you and I would be like, cool, that makes sense. But I would imagine Kevin Feige wants to introduce whatever the history of the mutants are on Earth, whether that's through Magneto or through Wolverine or through Apocalypse. I don't think they're going to use the term X-Men, I would imagine. I would imagine they're just going to have mutants, and then we're going to see what different groups they form there forward. So I'm not discounting your theory. I think Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 could be a place we learn more about mutants. I just think, like, you have opportunities between now and then to do it. Maybe I'm just feeling this unnecessary anxiety that the window's going to close on superheroes when it comes to, like, I think, right now, a lot of film historians are comparing the latest Marvel craze. I mean, it is the biggest genre, the biggest title in Hollywood right now. It's the one thing that people are going to movies for consistently, the way Westerns were in the late 60s. Like, they made so many freaking Westerns, and they made so much money. And now, like, they really just dropped in popularity, thanks in part to filmmakers like Scorsese, George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, people who loved and respected Westerns, but they made things like sci-fi and crime movies and more fast-paced movies, more of the standard, more the norm. So I don't know what would happen. I think it would take another wave, another generation of directors who make popcorn films that are more exciting to general audiences than the Marvel movies. Like, they would have to be ousted from the throne in order for that to happen. I don't think people just stop caring about something unless they have something more interesting to move on to. Oh, so, sure. But I am worried. Like, I think enough time has passed. Like, I know Dark Phoenix was only in 2019, which is only like 3 years ago. but no one saw that movie. In many fans' minds, the last
so
X-Men
true.
movies were the Deadpool movies, you know? And the second one was 2018. I think we're well beyond the threshold of how long Sony waited to reboot Spider-Man as Tom Holland. I think fans were okay with that. I think Marvel has so many great opportunities, and I know they have the money to do it, and I think that they should explore all opportunities. And I think they can reassure their investors big time just by announcing a mutant movie in the future.
It would be really dope. I just really want to see Jubilee, man. That's my favorite. I love Jubilee. Let's get it, Marvel.
Jubilee. Lots of great. I'd love to see like a really good Scott Summers Cyclops. Nothing against James Marsden.
Yes,
I
for
share it.
once.
I would just.
I'm not a fan of Cyclops,
him
so
to
like,
be
if we could get a good Cyclops, please, Marvel, let's get it.
Yeah. Well, we'll be talking about this stuff a lot more in the future, but that is it for this episode of Inside Marvel. We are still waiting for a trailer for Moon Knight. As soon as we learn more about when Moon Knight's going to be happening, if that drops on Disney Plus in the next couple months, this show will shift to being a Wednesday after show, as it's been the case with the other Disney Plus shows. But for right now, we're just kind of like looking at what's the biggest Marvel story each week at the top of the week, and MT and I are going to be here reacting to it with you guys.
We talking Marvel, baby.
Talking Marvel. Don't forget to check out our many great merch options at newrockstarsmerch.com. Follow me at EA Voss. Follow MT at Mastertainment. Subscribe to Inside Marvel wherever you get your podcasts, and we will see you next week. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye.
Love you guys.